Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we are plunging headfirst into City of Embers, the Uptown invasion. This is, well, it's that penultimate chapter in the Warmth Saga that so many of you have been asking about. Our mission, like always, is to really dig into the source material. We want to pull out not just the main plot points, but those crucial little details, the unexpected insights, and maybe shift how you see the whole thing, give you a fresh perspective, even if you think you know the story. So let's just jump right in. Picture this: Manhattan. It's burning. It's a staggering 48 degrees Celsius. You can practically feel it, right? The source describes windows exploding, alarms everywhere, screams, just chaos. And it turns out some unknown entity has basically hijacked the Con Edison grid. Buildings are turning into, well, ovens, super hot ovens. And right in the middle of this inferno, there's Emma, our protagonist. She's desperately trying to get to Columbia University's astrophysics lab. She got this critical text message from Dr. Irina Volkova. It just said, "It came from Venus, and I know how to send it back."
Yeah, and the source, it doesn't hang about making this threat feel real and personal. Like, while Emma's in this taxi racing through the chaos, the entity speaks directly through the car radio, whispering in Russian. It calls itself Ludmila and says this really ominous thing, Luja Maro.
Which means?
Futile Emma, we're already home.
Wow. Okay.
It just right away sets up this direct, kind of mysterious and really personal connection. It hints there's a history here we haven't even scratched the surface of.
They're already home. That's deeply unsettling. It definitely suggests something bigger going on. So what is this thing? Does the source tell us more about where it actually came from beyond just, Venus?
Well, once Emma gets to the lab, Dr. Volkova starts explaining, frantically really, and this is where the source drops a major revelation about its origins. Turns out this entity, it's not some new arrival, not at all. It was actually captured way back in 1945 by a secret Soviet project called Probe Venera Zero.
Venera Zero. Never heard of it.
Yes, exactly. Secret project. And get this. Volkova says her own grandfather worked on it. And its mission wasn't to study alien life. Oh no, it was designed specifically to capture it.
Captured in 45. Wow. Okay, so this whole invasion is more like a containment breach from decades ago.
Precisely. It completely reframes it. It's not an invasion. It's this horrifying thing. Waking up, escaping after all this time, adds this whole layer of Cold War conspiracy to the horror.
Okay, so it's old. It was captured. What's its nature? Why the intense heat?
Right. The source explains it's a plasma-based organism from Venus, specifically from the dark side vortices there. The Soviets gave it a designation, Zarko. Which quite aptly means the heat that hungers.
The heat that hungers. Chilling. So it literally feeds on heat in a city that's already scorching.
Exactly. It's this terrible paradox. It takes the heat, the energy, and uses it as fuel, just creating more destruction, a runaway cycle.
And the source apparently connects Zarko to something else, something historical.
Yeah. And if you thought the captured in 45 thing was disturbing, this is where it gets even darker. Volkova reveals it was involved in the Dyatlov Pass incident.
The Dyatlov Pass? Seriously? How?
They were testing its abilities there, specifically something called memory mimicry. The test went wrong. Horribly wrong. The source says the entire team was consumed?
Consumed. Oh my God. That puts a whole new light on that mystery. It makes you wonder, what else has this thing been involved in over the years?
It's a massive question. And that Dyatlov connection, it also tells us something about the KGB lab where they kept Zarko afterwards. The source is pretty explicit. It wasn't really designed for, long-term safe containment. It was more like a feeding trough.
Feeding trough. You mean they were deliberately sustaining?
Seems that way. It emphasizes how much this thing needed sustenance, its hunger, and just how deep and dark the secrets around it really were. It wasn't study, it was management of its appetite.
And this thing, Zarko, it's intelligent, right? Not just some mindless force?
Oh, absolutely. Terrifyingly so. The source even includes its direct response when Volkova is recounting all this history in the lab. It actually laughs through the lab speakers and says, which is, thanks for the story. Now your memories are ours.
It's stealing memories, too.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It confirms it's not just some creature. It's sentient, it's aware, and it's capable of real intellectual malice. Truly terrifying.
Okay, so Manhattan's burning, Zarko's feeding, it's stealing memories.
Yeah.
What's the immediate threat Emma has to deal with now, like on the streets?
Right. The immediate active danger comes in the form of heat clones.
Heat clones. What are those?
They're basically duplicates of Zarko's victims, but they're burning hot, like 100 degrees Celsius hot.
Yeah.
And their method of attack is just awful. They mimic deceased relatives. Yeah. They approach people looking like someone they lost, hug them, and then brand them with these heat sigils, searing marks. It's psychological torture and physical assault combined. Maybe the sigils are for tracking or something worse.
That's horrific. And I imagine Emma encounters these directly. The source mentions something personal.
Extremely personal. She sees security footage, Times Square. It shows a heat clone of her own sister, Anna.
Oh, no.
And she watches this clone melt a police officer's face, just melts it.
I can't even imagine seeing that. The horror, the grief.
Absolutely devastating. But amidst all this horror, there is a plan, a countermeasure. It involves something called a sonofrequency emitter, designed to harm the entity, destabilize it somehow.
Okay. An emitter. And where do they need to use it?
That's the objective. They have to get to the entity's core, its central mass. And the source says it's located deep inside the Empire State Building. In the reactor.
The Empire State Building's reactor, of course. So that leads to the climax, right? Emma has to go in there. That sounds incredibly dangerous. A superheated reactor room?
Extremely. The source paints a vivid picture. The core itself is described as a floating orb of liquid memories.
Liquid memories.
Yeah, and you can apparently hear the screams of the Dyatlov Pass team echoing from it.
Oh, God, that's nightmare fuel right there. A physical manifestation of all its victims.
Exactly, and that's where Volkova's instructions come in. Over the comms, urgent, clear. Emma has to plant that emitter directly onto the core. That's the only way to destabilize it, to fight back at its very essence.
Right onto the orb of screaming memories. Okay. High stakes. But it's never that simple, is it? I remember the source mentioning something else happens right then.
No, it's not simple at all. Just as Emma is about to do it, a heat clone appears. But this time, it's a clone of Dr. Volkova herself.
Volkova, well, the real Volkova is on the comms.
Yes, and it starts mocking her, taunting her. It even recounts her grandfather's desperate pleas before we drank his PhD thesis, is the quote. Just unbelievably cruel. Twisting history right back at them.
Unbelievable. How does Emma react?
Swiftly, decisively. She doesn't hesitate. She stabs the Volkova clone with the emitter.
With the emitter itself?
Yes, and the clone just dissolves instantly into steam.
Okay, quick thinking. So then she gets the emitter onto the actual core.
She does. And the core's reaction is immediate and violent. It screeches, again, in Russian, for ova meaning.
No. You're impossible as it starts to implode, collapse in on itself.
Impossible. Even this ancient, powerful thing is shocked. It didn't expect this resistance.
Seems like it. It's almost human, isn't it? That shock, that desperation as it's being undone.
So emitter attached, core imploding. Sounds like victory, right? But there's a catch. Always a catch.
A huge catch. This is the cliffhanger. The emitter, it needs time to work. 10 minutes, apparently.
10 minutes.
But the core is collapsing now, and it's so unstable, it's threatening to basically vaporize all of downtown Manhattan before the 10 minutes are up.
So they stop it. But the process itself might destroy the city anyway.
Exactly. 10 minutes is an eternity in this situation. What can they possibly do?
That's when Volkova reveals, well, a truly desperate alternative. A final option. Someone has to absorb the entity's core, take it into their own body.
Absorb it? How? Why?
To contain it just long enough to get it somewhere safe. And then they have to jump into the East River. The extreme cold of the water, Volkova theorizes, would crush the core and the host. Instantly, fatally.
Oh my God. That's not a choice, that's a sacrifice.
Yeah,
the ultimate sacrifice.
It is, and the emotional weight of that moment, the source, really makes you feel it. As the entity's core is weakening, its voice starts to change. It transforms into the whisper of Emma's sister, Anna, the one she saw as a heat clone.
Anna's voice.
Saying what?
Encouraging her, saying, do it, sis, I'll be with you.
Oh, that's heartbreaking, using her sister's memory, her love, right at the end. Or maybe it is Anna somehow.
It's left ambiguous, that fusion of love and terror. But it guides Emma's decision. We're left with her choice. Her final words back to Volkova over the comms. She just says, tell my subscribers I'm sorry.
First subscribers. Well, even then. Yeah. And then the source describes the sounds. Emma reaching into the core. The sound of flesh sizzling.
Oh, God.
Her recorder drops, clatters on the floor, then a distorted scream, cut short by an icy river splash. And then just dead silence.
Wow. Just silence. The cost, the sheer personal cost, that sacrifice, facing something so huge, it really hammers home the emotional core of this story, doesn't it? It's not just explosions and monsters, it's about what someone is willing to give up. Everything.
It truly is. But then, for those of you who've peeked at the teaser for the next part, Episode 5, Sub-Zero Sisters, the final dive. It throws a curveball, a really thought-provoking one.
What does it suggest?
Well, it hints Emma might not actually be gone.
Yeah.
Maybe she became the host, absorbed Zarko. But Anna's spirit is still there too, fighting from inside her.
Whoa. So merged. Hosted.
Potentially. And even more significantly, Volkova hints in the teaser that the real exit, it isn't death in the river, it's a one-way trip to Venus's freezing clouds.
Back to Venus. Back to where it came from. But hostile territory.
Exactly. Which leads to a really interesting question for you, the listener, to think about. What does it truly mean to go home in this context? When home is Venus, the origin of this plasma entity, and your only escape, your exit, might be a one-way journey right back into that freezing alien environment.
Yeah, that definitely puts a new spin on Emma's sacrifice. Is it really over if it just leads to a different kind of struggle? A chilling, maybe endless journey back to the source of the nightmare. Something to really mull over. What constitutes a true ending, a real solution in circumstances this extreme? Definitely food for thought until our next deep dive.